Good morning, everybody. James, Tony, good morning. Mom Tone. Welcome to the Bear Morning Show. This is a diamond, Garrett Peterick. This diamond is in homage to Lisa Left Eye Lopez of the 90s hip hop group. Oh, I just lost it. Whatever. No, it's a Band-Aid. Mama tried. Jason, Mad Celt, shalom everybody. Michigan Shepherd, good to see y'all. TLC, there you go. Thank y'all for being here. Sister Frances, good morning. Buzzard Roost, shalom brother. Fat Cadillac, Chris and Cameron, Gabriela Rodriguez, shalom. No scrubs. There you go. I like it, Nicholas Harden. The Watchman News, Robert. All right, y'all. Let's jump into the brief. Okay. Thank y'all for being here. For real, thank y'all for being here. I'm interested in this experiment this week of doing the Bear Daily Brief in the morning. So your productive comments down below as to whether you like it in the morning or the evening will help me determine how we do this going forward. So this week we are doing these in the morning to see A, how it fits into my schedule and my life and my family, and B, to see how it fits into your schedule and your life and your family. And hopefully we can find some synthesis there. This is the hand motions for synthesis. Okay. So, thank you for being here. As always, the entirety of this report is available on Patreon. You don't get my handwritten chicken scratch and my asterisks and my notations, but you do get all of this on Patreon. And now, because of the logistics of performing said show in the morning, this report was actually posted last night on Patreon. So if you're just absolutely an intel junkie and you have to have actionable intel 12 hours before everybody else, this was posted on Patreon last night. If you have intel to share with the entirety of the class, intel@bearindependent.com. That's where all the dance monkeys live. Their zip code is intel@bearindependent.com. And they live on your tasty intel nuggets that you deliver to them via email. So if you have intel you would like to share, please feed the dance monkeys, intel@bearindependent.com. As always, the store's running hot and heavy right now. We appreciate y'all deeply for patronizing the store. Pay your bills, pay your debt, buy food, plant a garden, and if you still have some left over in this semi-chaotic world we live in, I would strongly encourage you to support a small business. If it's our small business, bless you and thank you. If it's not, bless you and thank you. There are many small businesses that are not going to come out of this, and we firmly intend to not only come out of this, but to come out of this thing smelling like roses, and y'all are helping us do that, so thank you. A little Grindstone news before we jump into the report. By the way, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Do all that stuff that helps us greatly in the algorithm here on YouTube. And then also, many of y'all have asked about the Stomp Bag. What is it? What's in it? Where can I get it? How much does it cost? What colors does it come in? Are you going to make them available? Please make them available. I got to have one. Can you train me to use it? All of that information is in the store at bearindependent.com. Stomp is SEAL Team Operational Medical Pack. It's a hospital on your back designed to supply support about a squad-sized group, 12, 14 people. So that's on the website as well. And thank you for your interest in it. That's how entrepreneurship works. That's capitalism. Y'all say you want something, we make the something. Hopefully y'all buy the something. So it's there. Now, Grindstone news briefly. We have segmented out through our giving portal for Grindstone, General Fund, Bethany House, and drumroll please, Shofar Mountain. We have two projects coming up. One is we're going to build a new meeting hall at Shofar Mountain, which is my church. It's also the church that Pastor Joe Fox pastors of Viking Preparedness. So, for everybody who's like, hey, do you know Pastor Joe? I always reply with, who? Yes, I know Pastor Joe. I know him quite well, and I count it a blessing that I know him. And so Grindstone is fundraising for a church at Bethany House and a church at Shofar Mountain. And those two funds shall not mingle, okay? That's why we segmented that out at the giving portal. So we are not announcing dates yet, but we will be announcing dates soon. If you would like to be involved in the construction of the church at Bethany House, the chapel at Bethany House, or the meeting hall at Shofar Mountain, both of which function as churches, you need to be signed up for the newsletter. Go to grindstoneministries.com, sign up for the newsletter there. We will not destroy your inbox with that. We only send out mission-related news from there. So, yeah. The fundraising season for Grindstone has restarted. We have a huge raffle coming that I will announce in the very near future. I'm waiting on a couple more things to come in, but in the meanwhile, you can support Grindstone through donating at grindstoneministries.com by drinking disaster coffee. Yes, disaster coffee. Life's a disaster. The coffee's not. Bless you, brother. And by patronizing the Sanctified Supply Company. And so that's Grindstone news for the time being. Intel report, 27 April 2020. Overview. The number of confirmed cases worldwide and in the U.S. continues to climb. As of the time of this reporting, the official numbers are as follows. 2.987 million global cases, with 1.9 million active cases worldwide. Global deaths are 206,000. Global recoveries are 876,000. U.S. cases are 983,000. We are knocking on the door of 1 million. In fact, I would bet by this time tomorrow we're at 1 million. With 809 active cases. U.S. deaths are 55,341 as of the time of this reporting. So the United States cases represent about a third of the global number of cases, but our deaths represent about a quarter of the deaths. So mathematically, we're doing better than your average pandemic victim here in the United States. And U.S. recoveries sit at 118,735. North Carolina has corrected its numbers after it was found that every test received from Vidant Health was counted as positive for Saturday's update. The mistake had inflated the total number of cases by 81. So more false positives, which I guess if you had to have a false report, it would be a false positive in this case would be better than a false negative, because a false negative would result in somebody walking around thinking they didn't have the disease and spreading it willy-nilly, whereas a false positive would be that somebody that doesn't have it thinks that they do. So I guess if you had to have a false result, false positive is better than false negative, but 81 of them, because all of the tests from Vidant Health were bad. Testing accuracy issues continue, is the point of that. U.S. officials in the Philippines are both criticizing China for being, quote, an authoritative regime, end quote, looking to benefit from the COVID-19 crisis by becoming more aggressive in the South China Sea during this crisis. War, y'all. I had a long talk with my kids last night at the dinner table. I said, look, it's not just this COVID-19 thing, and we're not afraid of it. We might have a little bit of anxiety over it, but we meet anxiety with action. But we're unafraid. But spring break didn't turn into summer break for you. We have things to do. And so I wanted to just break it down for them just a little bit. I said, here's the deal. It's not just coronavirus. It's not just COVID-19 where we've all got to stay home. Now, because of that, the United States economy is tanking. The worldwide economy is inexorably tied to the United States economy. Saudi Arabia and Russia are doing crazy things with oil. So oil's down, and that affects our economy this way, right? I'm breaking it down Barney style to an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old, right? And then one of the things we talked about was war. And then also the availability of goods being imported into the United States. And so, coupled with a handful of other things, you know, the chance of no elections in November, or much different elections in November. There's just, and then food scarcity. I said, so there's a lot of things happening on a lot of different levels that are all adding up to the potential for chaos. We do not have chaos actual now. Praise the Most High. We do not have chaos actual now. What we have is inconvenience right now. But if all these things continue to simmer in this pot and we turn up the heat and increase the pressure, it's gonna boil over. And so I wanted them to be aware of that, and I want y'all to be aware of that. And so this here, you know, the US and the Philippines, this just continues to put us on this footing of war, which we've seen over and over and over again in these reports. They are building the foundation they need to launch into the arguments for war. There will very likely be a black swan event sooner or later, probably in the South China Sea. But we've already seen that Trump said that any Iranian vessels that threaten U.S. vessels will be destroyed. Yet again, okay? You know, I'd be looking for something, or there's the potential for, I'd say, something like the Gulf of Tonkin incident at this point. All right, Georgia is loosening its restrictions, and Texas is looking to open restaurants 1 May. But the governor of Virginia has said that phase 1 of reopening could take at least 2 years. Now, Georgia, Texas, and Virginia all have different population density equations in different areas of their states. And so on the surface, it could sound very much so like, well, there's a lot more tyranny in Virginia than there is in Georgia or Texas. And I think that would probably be an accurate statement, which is sad because Virginia was, you know, one of the hot spots of the Revolutionary War. But, oh, how far we have fallen. I mean, Texas was full of a bunch of rugged badasses, and now it's people wondering what sweater they're going to put on their poodle today. Not everywhere, but in a lot of places, you know. You know, does this latte match my skinny jeans? But I digress. The point here is that this is a state-by-state approach. It needs to be a state-by-state approach. And then we have essentially 50 different experiments in democracy and representative republic here in the United States, not just one overarching experiment in that. And so how different states run themselves, i.e. the 10th Amendment, I'm a big fan of that. Hey, if Georgia needs to do something different than Texas, by all means do it. If Virginia needs to do something different than, you know, Georgia or Texas, do it. What they do and how it is done is at the discretion of the governing bodies of those states. Now, I am no fan of politics. On a federal level, I believe it's damn near pointless to be involved in federal politics. But your state politics, your regional politics, your local politics, you should be, because you get the government you deserve. Meaning that if we stand up and fight for the things that we think are worth fighting for, if we make our voices heard, and we elect good people to positions of authority to work with us, not to laud that power over us, to work with us, then you will get a government that is representative of you. If you sit back and do one of these, you'll get a government that's representative of the people who voted in your place. So, Governor Cuomo of New York said that testing will soon be available at pharmacies for first responders, then for the public at large. 1/3 of deaths in the United States are in New York right now. Still, 1/3. Come out of her, my people, lest you partake of her sins and receive of her plagues. Comes out of a book that looks a lot like this. Population density equation. We've talked over and over about population density at this channel and why it matters. Well, you have the largest city in the United States that inexplicably has the largest incidence of infection in the United States. Plague. Come out of her, my people. Babylon, the city, the system, lest you partake in her sins, transgressing the Father's will for your life, and receive of her plagues, like COVID-19 and high taxes and ridiculous accents. Love y'all, New York. All right. A new study from Harvard and the Environmental Defense Fund shows the largest plume of methane pollution ever recorded over a U.S. oil field, enough to supply 7 million homes, is leaking into the atmosphere above oil fields in Texas and New Mexico. I wonder if that's because it's not being extracted from the ground. I don't know. But we need one giant no smoking sign over there. We're going to end up with another Yucatan Peninsula-sized crater. So, don't go light a cigarette in Texas or New Mexico. Copy? Pennsylvania is coming under fire for its snitch portal for residents to report businesses that are not complying with COVID-19 prevention guidelines. The website they created has been criticized by both lawmakers and citizens. Good. Keep at it, PA. Good. The USNS Comfort will be leaving Manhattan after seeing only about 200 patients. It was originally to see non-coronavirus patients, but when one was accidentally admitted, the original plan had to be changed. And now that the worst is behind New York City, the ship is preparing to return to Virginia to get ready to deploy to another area in need. Cool. I'd like to encourage y'all, if you would please, to share these reports with somebody in your family, somebody in, you know from work, your team, your tribe, your MAG, mutual assistance group, whatever. Please help disseminate this information out there. We hear from a lot of people every day at the intel at bearindependent.com, as well as our several other email touch points and on Patreon, how much people have come to rely on this report. And I appreciate that, because the reason this report exists is because of y'all. We get all of this information comes in from y'all. And then the dance monkeys take that, they sift it down, they plow through it, they corroborate it, they generate this report, they send it to me, I go through it, I figure out what I'd like to present, how I'd like to present it. We post this up on Patreon along with pictures and supporting documents, and then we bring it to y'all on YouTube in the form of this reported live stream. But it's all in conjunction with y'all. There's no agenda here other than facilitating information amongst the Bear Nation, y'all. And we found that, in the mouths of 2 or 3 is everything established. That's right here in this word as well. Well, in the mouths of 200 or 300 every day, that's really meaningful. So thank you. And it would help us if you would share this out with other people that maybe are unaware of it or that need to hear it. So thank you. 2 or more eyewitness accounts, continuity of infrastructure and supply chain, repeating processing and manufacturing slowdowns or decreasing supplies of goods. Farmers are dumping their milk. Produce is being plowed under or allowed to rot, and large numbers of egg-laying hens and hogs are being euthanized due to a large lack of processing ability. U.S. pork production alone is down 15% due to closures. Most recently, it has been reported that millions of chickens are being culled due to the unavailability of processing plants to send them to. So, Bear Nation, how do we, and I don't mean we under this roof right now, I mean we within the sound of my voice, how do we use the fact that the system is breaking to our advantage with localized, regionalized infrastructure, networks of people, skills, equipment, abilities, giftings, talents, and delights? I don't know, but I think there's an opportunity here for small groups of highly motivated individuals to go to the chicken house and say, please don't kill 50,000 of those birds. We want 1,000 of them. My mag is going to process 1,000 of them. Or, for example, a lot of nonprofits have cold storage, walk-in freezers, refrigerators, all that, and they are hurting. They are hurting for donations. Because of that, their inventory is low. They have the storage space. And may I remind you, we are in a state of emergency. So take all those laws, regulations, rules that people would try and subject you to during this time and whoosh, throw it out the window. That's a two-way street. Hey, the government gets additional powers and authorities under state of emergency, roger that. But when I go directly to the farmer and I buy 1,000 chickens and I process them in a facility that was not, approved by the EPA and whatever Department of Environmental something stupid blah blah blah, and the health department didn't say, well, you don't have stainless steel countertops, I guess you can't butcher in here. Blah, get rid of all that. Take this concept and run with it. How do we, as small groups of people, get a hold of these vast resources that the system is unable to utilize right now, and utilize them for ourselves and for positions of strength in our community? Imagine if you had a small town with 1,000 people in it, okay? You're the mayor of a small town with 1,000 people in it, and we got 50,000 chickens in this town they're gonna euthanize. Can we not have a butchering day? The East Overshoe, Indiana butchering day. Today, we're gonna butcher chickens. We're gonna butcher 5,000 chickens today at the county park, which is shut down. Doesn't matter. Police officers, firefighters, I need you all for a day. We're gonna run this thing like a county fair, except it's gonna be butchering day. And we're gonna start a processing line. We're gonna zip 5,000 chickens through here, and they're gonna be over here bok-bocking on one end and over here in a sealed plastic bag on the other. And every household goes home with 5 chickens. Why can't we do that? Why are we tilling under lettuce instead of taking our mag and going out to a field of lettuce with knives and just cut bag, cut bag, cut bag, cut bag? Well, Barrett's a lot of hard work, roger that. Hard work usually means good times. Hard work makes good times. We, us, need to get more thoughtful about that. We need to not let these resources simply go to waste, but we need to figure out how do we join us to those resources so that we can utilize them for ourselves and for our communities and for our regions, our think small, local, regional co-ops. What if there was a co-op of 6 mags operating all within 3 hours of each other? Hey, we got this resource over here. Awesome, get it. Well, we don't know how to distribute it. Well, Bob has a trucking company and fuel's really cheap right now. Bob, can we do that? Well, we're gonna have to do it on Sunday afternoon. Okay, Sunday afternoon it is. Go. Sanctified Industries. I've talked about this before. We need to do something like this. How do we get a hold of these birds? How do we get a hold of these animals that are being euthanized? How do we get a hold of this produce that's not being harvested and use that for positions of strength? And I'm open to input on this, productive input on this, but we shouldn't simply lament the fact that this is happening, right? OODA loop. Observe, orient, decide, act. We're simply observing that this is happening. Haven't actually oriented on it yet. Well, we need to orient on this. Food scarcity is coming. We need to decide that we are not going to become victims of that. And we need to act on the opportunity to gather as many of these resources as possible and onboard them into our local and our regional infrastructure, us, rather than simply, yep, they just killed 50,000 more chickens. Well, that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard, because I know people that don't have any food in their pantry. See what I mean here? All right, I'm gonna climb back up out of that rabbit hole, but think on that. take that and run with it. And I do not need to be involved in it at all. Just y'all take that and run with it. Figure it out. Repeating, reduced ethanol has led to reduced carbon dioxide, which is used in water treatment under legal and political. Repeating, many places are beginning to cautiously open up or are making plans to do so. Some places are extending their orders and or modifying them. Bars and nightclubs are pushing to reopen, with restaurants in early May. I know, at least in Texas, they are considering opening, I think it's 1 May, you can go to a restaurant if they have an outdoor patio and dine in outdoors on the patio with appropriate distancing of tables and chairs and blah, blah, blah. I'm curious to see how long it takes for human nature to overcome mandated separation. I had an opportunity to see a handful of people whom I love and value yesterday for the first time in a month, 6 weeks, more than that for a couple of them. And boy, it's filled my heart just to lay eyes on my people. I don't think you're going to be able to mandate for any given length of time that people, so we'll see. Disastercoffee.com. Stuff is freaking good. And they've been a long time supporter of Grindstone, by the way. They're not trying to jump on any bandwagons. They've been, in fact, the guy who started Disaster Coffee started it because he wanted to have a way to use capitalism to benefit nonprofit organizations like Grindstone. So he's been in it. He's been doing this a while, not just today. So Michigan's legislature has reconvened to review Governor Gretchen Whitmer's actions during this time. They have passed a bill to repeal, they meaning Michigan's legislature, have passed a bill to repeal the 1945 Emergency Powers of the Governor Act, which Whitmer is using to issue her heavy-handed mandates. Before this, Governor Whitmer had said in a briefing, quote, "Of course, I will veto bills that they send over to limit the executive power. I've been very clear about that from day one. Those blatant power grabs are bad in good times and dangerous in times of crisis," end quote. Civil unrest much? I know a lot of Michiganders, and the ones that I know, their governance does not match their countenance, if that makes sense. For example, the government in Texas is pretty good at being representative of its people. The government in Oklahoma is pretty good at being representative of its people. A lot of places, the government on the state level is good at being representative of its people. Michigan doesn't feel that way to me. It's a lot like New York, downstate New York. Now, the capital of New York, Albany, New York, is upstate. It's not terribly far upstate, but it's upstate. You could put the capital there, but everybody knows all the power and influence is downstate in the 5 boroughs: Rockland County, Westchester County, Ulster, Putnam, right? But really, it's the 5 boroughs. That's where the people are. That's where the money is. That's where the power and political influence is. Well, in Albany, New York, and north of there, I grew up with a shotgun and a rifle in my truck. Going to school. No biggie. But I was governed by a bunch of people that would think that those two things are assault weapons and that I should be in prison for the rest of my life for setting foot in a schoolyard with those weapons in my vehicle. And that was so that we could go kill things to eat them before school or after school. So, not very representative. And I see that tension there between governing authority and the people that governing authority is supposed to represent can again lead to civil unrest. And as we've discussed repeatedly here, there's really 3 things that I am keeping an eye on. The three recurring things: economic collapse or softening or something. What's the economy doing? And the answer is not much right now. Economic collapse. Food scarcity. Is food scarce yet? No. But boy, we're heading in that direction, right? And then, as my pastor so succinctly puts it, people behaving badly, civil unrest. And you add into that supply chain issues and war, because war is really looking like it's coming. Again, the potential for chaos. We do not, by the hand of the Most High, have chaos actual right now. We have inconvenience. But the potential for chaos is coming. Pennsylvania has issued a citation to Middle Creek Roofing in Lebanon County for violating Governor Wolf's mandate that non-life sustaining businesses remain closed. The business was previously warned twice by state police prior to being given a citation. I would take a copy of the Bill of Rights and I would have it notarized by an attorney, and I would mail it next day air with a signature required to the Lebanon County governing body, and then also to Governor Wolf's office. And then I might stand out front of Governor Wolf's office and scratch your face just a little bit, because sometimes your beard gets itchy. That's what I would do. And then they would make a big deal about it, and you'd either end up on the news and the governor would back off, or you wouldn't, and sooner or later you'd end up in front of a Supreme Court, and then we could have an argument about, does the governor get to say things that go against my God-given, constitutionally protected rights, regardless of whether or not we're in a state of emergency? Let's have that conversation in a court of law. Let's see where everybody stands on that. That's what I would do. But I don't go looking for fights, but man, if we're in one, I'm gonna end it. So that's where I'm at. If Governor Wolf has decided to pick on, well, and not directly, but the Middle Creek Roofing Company in Lebanon County finds itself at odds with the dictatives of Governor Wolf. Okay, Governor Wolf. If I was the Middle Creek Roofing Company, like, it's on now. What do we got to lose? They already told us we can't go to work. What have we got to lose? Next item. This crisis might just be an ideal petri dish for corruption. Harris County, Texas is looking to dismantle a $17 million temporary hospital that was never used. According to the Western Journal, the county had, quote, a dubious arrangement, unquote, with Garner Environmental Services, which designed and has helped to run the hospital, which was never used. Various security officers and finance section chief received remuneration of $2,012 to $2,878. So between roughly $2,000 and $2,800 daily. So you're telling me that there exists the potential for corruption and public-private partnerships with the government? Because that I just had a small aneurysm. I can't even think about that. That goes against everything that I've ever known or experienced. Story time. After Hurricane Katrina, Bear had a crew, a rather large crew of men that had a lot of heavy equipment and a lot of trucks and semis and triaxle dump trucks and equipment haulers and pickups and blah, blah, blah. And we worked our way from Key Isla Morada in the Florida Keys all the way around the Gulf to West Texas. And I believe it was Pompano Beach, Florida. There was a dump there where debris was going, because we were hauling debris, vegetative and C&D, construction and demolition. And the way that works is you fill the truck up, and the side of the truck has a tag on it. You say the trailer is rated for 40 yards of debris. Okay, and then when you go to the dump, there's a guy on a gantry. It's like a tower with a boom on it. So the tower comes up here, and then there's an arm that swings out, and a guy sits on a chair on the end of the boom, and the truck would pull up, and he would swing the boom over the top of the truck and look down in and say, you're 80, 90, 95% full. Fill out your ticket. And we were getting paid by the yard, which the prime contract for C&D, which went to a military contractor, was $140 per yard for construction and demolition. The next contract under that, subcontracted, was for $70 a yard. The next contract under that was subcontracted at $30 a yard. The next contract under that, the people who hired us were getting paid $12 a yard, and we were getting paid $6 a yard. So from $140,000 or $140 per yard down to $6 per yard for the people actually doing the work. So again, you know, corruption in public-private partnerships, who'd have thought? And so we were loading our trucks up, literally with 6 foot of crap sticking up out the top of the trailer. State of emergency. These laws don't matter anymore. Sir, you're over full. Thank you, officer. I'm headed to the dump. Oh, okay. We had like 120 trucks running, and they had 6 foot of crap sticking out of the top of them, and I'm getting these tickets back, 90s, 90, 90, 90, maybe 95% full, and I'm pissed. And I'm like, I got half a load on top of the load, and you're telling me it's only 95% full. So I went down there and I saw the guy, and I said, hey, what does a guy have to do to get hundreds? And he just looks at me and he goes, I said, how much? And he goes, 10 grand. I said, all right. And he goes, per day. So I scratched my beard at him, and we never got any hundreds. But we were one of 14, 15 contractors in there, and there were a lot of people getting hundreds. And so that guy who sat on that gantry crane working for FEMA was making at least 10K a day under the table. Very likely more than that, probably 20, 30K a day under the table. There's a little anecdote from Bear's backstory. So the concept that there would be corruption in a public-private partnership is simply beyond me. I have never seen or experienced that in my life at all. Coffee. Military. Vermont's National Guard are lending a helping hand distributing MREs at the county airport at a makeshift food bank. One viewer reported it was 1 case per person per household. Vermont Food Bank CEO John Sales said, quote, we've seen between a 30 and 100% increase in the number of people showing up at food distributions, end quote. From a personal source, somebody that I know personally, whom I've seen recently, who runs a food bank. We were discussing this recently, and he said that they are absolutely seeing an increased demand, and they are absolutely seeing decreased supply, and that he personally knows myriad nonprofits that are shutting down right now because they simply don't have the revenue to operate, and they don't have the goods to distribute. And so this matches what we've seen elsewhere. There's 120,000 people per day in San Antonio visiting the San Antonio Food Bank. 120,000, 1/8 of a million people a day are eating out of that food bank in San Antonio right now. So there's absolutely an increased demand, and there's very little coming in comparatively now. So supply and demand issues already. And what happens when those people who can't buy food in the grocery store because it's not there, and if it is, they can't afford it because of the weakening economic issues that we have in the United States. can't buy food. And there's no food for them to receive from the food banks because they're closed, or all they can give them is literally a handful of stuff. Then people start to get desperate. Desperate people do desperate things. That sucks. That sucks for a lot of reasons. All the more reason we should figure out how do we lay our hands on the resources that the system is unable to make use of right now. Medical. Repeating, clinicians suspect COVID-19 may cause other more lasting issues than previously suspected. Additionally, more waves of the outbreak are expected. ERs and other medical care facilities are continuing to struggle financially, and furloughs are common. The World Health Organization warned that people who have recovered from the virus, whether asymptomatic or not, may not be immunized against the virus. At least there is a lack of evidence that they are immunized against the virus. Here's my issue with the World Health Organization. I have many, but in this one regard, they're constantly flip-flopping. It wasn't that long ago they were saying, listen, it's not possible for human-to-human, person-to-person transmission of this virus, so you don't have to worry about that. And now they're like, not only is that possible, you can spread it from up to 27 feet away, and it'll live on everything, everywhere, always, so we're all gonna die. Now, I understand that as more information becomes available, the accuracy or lack thereof becomes subject, going backwards on the timeline of the information that they've provided. But that just serves to reinforce the concept that I don't need a governing body telling me to not stick my hands in my face. Don't go around licking people. If you're sick, stay home. Wash your hands. Disinfect. Cover your face. Glove up if you have to go touch it, like fuel pumps, for example. We glove up at fuel pumps. But other than that, man, we're gonna go to work. We're gonna quit asking permission to do things that are God-given, constitutionally protected. I'm not asking, free men don't ask permission. The government is by the people, for the people. By the people, for the people. I realize your job, as you perceive it, is to protect me from myself, but I'm good, bro. Thank you. I'm a grown-up. I'm gonna act like a grown-up. And I'm going to encourage everybody within the sound of my voice to act like a grown-up. So, maybe if you've already had COVID-19, you're not necessarily immunized against COVID-19. I don't know that. But apparently, neither does the World Health Organization. And so if myself and the World Health Organization are on equal footing when it comes to figuring out how to deal with this disease, why in the world would I place myself under the authority of the World Health Organization when we both have the same amount of intel? The only difference is my intel is actually actionable in my real everyday life. The intel that they bring to me is a whole bunch of maybes and caveats, and we have to be careful how we say this because of legal issues and liabilities and blah, 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 blah. Thanks, World Health Organization. You make me want to scratch my beard. A French study has suggested that nicotine helps prevent transmission of COVID-19, though it is not conclusive. This has led to legal restrictions around the substance in anticipation of panic hoarding of nicotine products. Of course, yay, let's apply more government to this. The FDA has noted that smokers in particular may be at increased risk and suffer more severe symptoms. So, yet again, as clear as muddy water there, that statement. So here's the takeaway. Don't go smoke cigarettes in West Texas or New Mexico to avoid COVID-19 because you'll blow us all up because of the gas leak. So, just so we're all tracking on the same page here. Societal in general, it has been noted in several areas that food distribution lines are unusually long and that food banks are becoming more and more undersupplied, especially to meet the growing demand. A note from the Dance Monkeys. We receive reports from Bear Nation alone that add up to several thousands of beneficiaries daily in several specific areas scattered across the nation. And repeating, rallies and protests are continuing. Good. Be adults. Don't go looking for a fight. You realize that most of the government personnel you will interact with are simply doing their jobs. They're normal people who wear a badge and a vest, who are just doing their jobs, and the vast majority of them are just very good people. Don't go looking for a fight, but don't be a doormat either. And see, we've discussed this before. This is about knowing where your lines in the sand are. I'm not going to ask permission to do things that I know I can do. The end. Freedom of movement is one of my protected rights. Freedom to worship the way I see fit is the reason this country exists in the first place. So I'm going to do that. I have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Liberty means that you don't get to tell me where I can go, where I can't go, what I can do, what I can't do, blah, 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 blah. No, that's liberty. I prefer dangerous liberty to comfortable slavery. But these people that you interact with, your law enforcement officers, your government officials, big stretch. They're just doing their job. And I know somebody out there is thinking, you know what, Bear, the Nazis were just doing their job too. And you're right. But we are not in jackbooted thug territory yet. And so be adults. Don't go looking for a fight. But I'm over asking permission to do things that I should be allowed to do anyway, that I am allowed to do anyway. Okay. Intel at bearindependent.com is where you send all your tasty intel nuggets to the dance monkeys. Intel at bearindependent.com. Again, the entirety of this report is on Patreon, and it's generated entirely with the intel that y'all bring to us every day. So this is a partnership between us and y'all. Y'all bring the intel, the dance monkeys assemble that intel, they funnel it to me, I sort through it, I deliver the report. Okay, so thank you. AdventureFrontier.com for armor. AdventureFrontier.com. Spartan armor is it's good stuff. I run it. I've got 2 sets of it, and I enjoy it. I get some trauma pads with it. Whenever you get steel plates, get some trauma pads with it. They just help with the comfortability. You know, do you need it for ballistic reasons? No, but they help with the comfortability. So, and they're not terribly expensive. So, if you're looking for armor and you've paid your bills, you're paying down your debt, you've got food in your pantry, you're planting a garden, and you still have some money left over, please consider patronizing AdventureFrontier.com. You can get armor there. You can get all kinds of prepper gear there. You can buy your plate carrier and your armor and buy one of these, the bare minimum kit to hang on your plate carrier, all at AdventureFrontier.com. You can get these. This is the bare minimum from bearindependent.com. Hand sewn, handmade, made in America. Made in America, by the way, which is going to become a thing. Buy Sojourn gear. Look at it. Guaranteed forever. You break this, you send it to me, I send you a new one. Forever. Loop on the front, you can fix your patches, whatever you want. This hangs on your gear, you know, chest rig. I like this size kit, which is about yay big, okay? It's approximately the same size as a Glock Model 21. So there you go, okay? I like that size kit for plate carrier, for chest rig, for war belt, okay? Because it's the minimum. Pop this open, get your quick clot impregnated gauze on here. And by impregnated, I don't mean that you were alone in a foxhole one night. What I mean is that it's got hemostatic agent in it. Okay, then you grab the red handle, because red, blood, the whole nine. This stays on your kit, this comes out. Now you're holding a blowout kit in your hands, okay? Pop this open. You've got 1-inch surgical tape, good tape. Drop this open. 6-inch emergency trauma dressing, decompression needle for tension pneumothorax, nitrile gloves, Gen 7 cat tourniquet. Then down here, you've got your 7¼ inch North American Rescue shears with the super cool oxygen bottle cutout. So legit shears. Nasal Pharyngeal Airway with Surgilube for your March algorithm, maintaining the airway. You've got two 5x9s here. Gauze, okay? Big gauze. I like big gauze rather than small gauze, because if I need small gauze, that means I've probably got time and I can take my shears and cut my big gauze into little gauze. If I need big gauze, it means I probably don't have time. And then not one, but two, not small, compact, but full-size, large, high-fin chest seals, because gunshots tend to make an entry wound and an exit wound, and a lot of those exit wounds can be absolutely egregious in their size and scope. And so 1 entry, 1 exit, full size, not compact, high-fin chest seals come in this kit, and it's $100 less, made in America, than a comparable kit from Dark Angel Medical. And I don't know about you, but I serve the Most High. I'm not necessarily interested in Dark Angels, thank you very much. But I mean, and that's perhaps too much of a dig, but because I know that those are good guys, and they're just trying to save lives just like we are. But this kit is made in America, guaranteed forever, hand sewn by Brother Cody at Sojourn Gear, North American Rescue Components. And did I mention made in America for $100 less than our Chinese counterfeit counterparts? So that's the bare minimum. Hero soap, wash your dirty butt. This is their spearmint. This stuff's delicious. You can use code BEAR. I don't remember what that gets you. I think it gets you 10% off. You can use code BEAR. And this stuff, it smells like delicious gum. It's goat milk and essential oils, and really, it's good soap. Yankee just bought a bunch to scrub his dirty body with. So, Hero Soap Company, again, American-owned, veteran-owned, made in America, good stuff. And of course, our brother at Amendment 1 Preparedness. Got it. Just gonna show you real quick. Amendment 1 Preparedness. 30 caliber ammo can. Take the lid off. Hey look, a ham radio. Cool, but Bear, how do you power it? Oh, you just flip the switch. Oh, look at that. Yeah, it's got an internal battery in it. It hooks up to any 12-volt power source, car battery, mobile battery, battery pack, solar panel, whatever. And you got a 25-watt radio with an antenna and a battery backup, and a 30 caliber ammo can that weighs 10 pounds, waterproof. So we use these at Grindstone. We use these amongst our tribe and our MAG, our mutual assistance group. They're highly recommended. He's a really good guy. He also supports Grindstone with his efforts, so check him out. Enough with the sales pitchy stuff. But again, really, just to reiterate, these are all small businesses. All of these are small businesses. These are all people that we've had existing relationships with prior to this Bear brief. And frankly, these are all people that, like Amendment 1 Preparedness, Sanctified Supply Co. I didn't ask them, hey, do you want to sponsor the Bear brief? They're just people that we love. And I was like, you know what? They could use the shout out. And they could use your patronage. They could use you browsing and seeing maybe if there's something you'd like to get from them. I didn't approach them with a sales pitch and say, hey, would you please sponsor the Bear Brief? There's none of that. We don't get paid to do this Bear Brief. Nobody is paying to play this game. These are people that we know, people that we love, people that we do business with and have done business with prior to this, who need the shout out because they need that revenue to support their families. Okay? So if you've paid your bills, paid your debt, put food in your pantry, are growing food, and you still have a little bit left over, please consider supporting a small business. Our small business, one of these small businesses, or any other small business, because Jeff Bezos will still have a retirement account when this thing is over. A lot of us will not. So, thank you. And then we're going to briefly speed through single accounts, insider intel, and miscellaneous. As stated, the entirety of this report is available on Patreon. We've got report in Marietta, Georgia, that a local restaurant supply depot, good morning, honey, had 90-10 ground beef for $4.81 a pound, which is high. The people of rural South Carolina are, quote, over this. The new term they are using is shamdemic. Social distancing and mask wearing practices have passed their peak. Business owners are trying to work with restrictions as best they can. All are far more worried about jobs and the economy, as they should be. In Canada, meat processing plants are closing. Drug shortages are beginning, and local supermarket chain is seeing half-empty delivery trucks. Freezers are near impossible to find. Australia, hospitals are now conducting non-emergency surgeries. Dentists are open for non-emergencies. Schools are starting to open. Firearm and ammo sales have been banned by the Labor state governments, the left-wing governments there. Yeah, that's tyranny actual, which has the potentiality for civil unrest, as seen over and over again. Rural homesteaders are losing livestock due to lack of ammo. I guess they can't keep the predators off of their livestock. Exemptions only apply to people who make most of their income from livestock. Subsidized wages of $1,500 Oz, or $900 US per fortnight, every couple of weeks, per employee for every household business, for every business continuing to employ that has lost 30% of revenue. Praxair, the nation's largest CO2 manufacturer, is laying off drivers because business is so slow. One viewer witnessed an elderly couple taking a rest on a bench 3 miles uphill on a park trail in a very hilly area be told by a park ranger that they had to get off the bench. Quote, they could sit on the rail. They complied and went down the hill. Total disrespect, just following orders, I guess. That's bull. Sweden, which has not issued restrictions, believes its herd immunity should damp down the rate of infection by sometime in May. I'm kind of tracking on this, honestly. I think that now we have enough data to say, you know what, we need to just let our... Now, I realize 1 in a million kids, statistically, will succumb to this virus. 1 in a million. We need to get immunity into our kids, and I don't mean by putting some cocktail of, vaccines and chemicals into their arms and pushing the plunger. We need healthy people exposed to this. Our children, our working class, all of our people who can be out there should be out there. I wonder if the reason the World Health Organization is saying that surviving COVID doesn't necessarily mean that you have antibodies for COVID, that you can't get reinfected, if they're saying that in an attempt to further support vaccination. I just posted a video this morning on Patreon about vaccination because I've been getting a lot of questions about, Bear, will you take this vaccine? And suffice it to say, my answer to that is on Patreon. $1 or more a month gets you access to a minimum of 24 exclusive pieces of content per month on Patreon. Rumors about Kim Jong-un's ill health abound, and his absence at the recent parade has only fueled the flames. If he is dead, the most likely candidate to take over would be his sister, Kim Yo-jong. And we have it on good authority from thousands of memes that in his official last will and testament, he has left all of his pantsuits to Hillary Clinton. Actionable. Consider forming a group and contacting a local cattle farmer to buy live and direct and set up a group processing day with your mag. Cheaper meat for you and support for a struggling farmer. There's a whole bunch of actionable stuff here, all of which is on Patreon. Let's get to silver linings. Due to Bear's advice and tutorials, viewers started building up food supplies in December and knew exactly what to buy and how to store it when they found out about the virus in January. They currently have a decent food supply, bought seeds for the first time, and will be planting some veggies in the coming days. Quote, reached out to acquaintances and friends around the city and have started sharing intel, information, and advice with interested individuals. Advise people to build up food stores, and several have taken this advice, including friends from overseas who are now all very glad to have done so. I share your intel video with them every night. Bless you. Thank you. In small town Idaho, a small bar that decided to open in defiance of the governor's orders sparked meaningful conversation. The mayor has decided to look the other way while the entire town opens the 1st of May. The protest cocktail party that was planned is now canceled as they prepare to completely reopen next week. If y'all could give me like 5 more minutes, that would be the best thing ever. Thank you. A sign-making company in Beeville, Texas made and donated a brand new readable sign to help support a local man sell his pecans, honeycomb, eggs, and more. An Australian billionaire has bought 34 million doses of hydroxychloroquine and donated it to the national stockpile. That's enough for 1 dose per person. As previously reported, the efficacy and safety of hydroxychloroquine is undetermined at this time. I've had a lot of communication from a lot of people, some of which are involved or have been involved in a class action suit against the manufacturers of hydroxychloroquine for adverse effects that they experienced while exposed to this drug during studies that took place in the Americas, the United Australia, and elsewhere. And so it may not be the miracle drug that it's been thought to be. Or it may be that certain people have certain adverse effects to it. The answer is, I don't know. Bear is not a doctor, nor does he play one on YouTube. So, and then quote, thank you so much for doing all of this and keeping Bear Nation in the know. As a direct result of Bear's conviction, we have teamed up with our neighbors and have not only tripled our garden production and built a chicken coop for a flock of broilers, but we have also secured our beef for the year going forward. There's a pic of that on Patreon, which is awesome. Mom's, not shown in the picture, but mom is also pregnant, meaning the cow. There's a picture of 2 calves. So good times ahead regardless of what happens in the world. And I think that's the part of the report that we need to underscore. Good times ahead regardless of what happens in the world. Amen. We've got some useful resources, hyperlinks here that are posted on Patreon. And then notes. Check out the forums at bearindependent.com. Good idea, Bear. I want to butcher 5,000 chickens in a day. How am I supposed to do that? Figure it out. Forums, bearindependent.com. Where do I find like-minded individuals in East Overshoe, Indiana? Forums, bearindependent.com. Yeah, but I live 42 miles southwest of Saskatchewan. Forums, bearindependent.com. This is not preppersonly.com. This is a way for y'all to connect with people of like mind and form meaningful relationships with people in your area. And I think this should be discussed too. A lot of preppers, and by preppers, how shall I say this? There are many people who their idea of prepping is building yet another bug out bag or getting another cool lighter or another cool bushcraft knife, and that's it. Well, I think that's like entry-level preparedness, because sooner or later you're going to need to eat food, okay? Which is why we are homesteaders, and we were suburban homesteaders before we were rural homesteaders. We have a lot of there's over 1,600 videos between YouTube and Patreon. We have a lot of content about producing food up out of the ground and how we've done it and the lessons we've learned about it. But a lot of these preppers who are basically gear whores are overly concerned with OPSEC, operational security, bro. And it's like, well, first of all, there's not many amongst y'all who are even qualified to wax poetic on security. But next, you need people. And I understand that you don't necessarily want to show people what color your panties are on the first date, but you could at least get a cup of coffee. You could at least meet up with somebody, have conversations, okay? The time for being the guy in the hoodie with the glasses leaned up against the wall at the prepper meeting, not saying a word, just observing, is over. And you know what? Those people don't track well with me anyway. Find people, date each other, do hard things together, build context, fall in love, do life together, figure it out. You're gonna need people. The end. You're gonna need people. The idea that you can do this all alone is a fallacy. The idea that your perfectly crafted bug out bag is going to save your life, and that's it, is a fallacy. Bugging out just gets you from where things are bad to where things are less bad. What are you gonna do when you get to where things are less bad? That's just the very beginning, homie. That is just, you are 3 pages into the first chapter with your bug out bag. Where are you going after that? What's the rest of the story look like? And if the rest of the story is you trying to survive in the wilderness by yourself with a bug out bag, that's a really crappy story. And you're the one living it. So, forums at bearindependent.com. Grindstone Ministries is still currently looking for an attorney and a grant writer. We are in the process of talking with many people about this, but we're still ongoing conversations. NTXMag at Gmail, November Tango X-Ray Mike Alpha Golf at gmail.com. If you are an attorney or if you are a grant writer, please reach out to us. Not my uncle's, nephew's, brother's, boss's friend from college is a grant writer. If you are, please reach out to us. To support Grindstone, again, you can visit grindstoneministries.com. You can drink coffee. Disastercoffee.com. They have a variety of blends. They also have bunker beans, which are beans, whole beans that are green, unroasted, in Mylar with oxygen absorbers that will last on a shelf or in a bucket for 20 years. Yes, bunker beans. The prepper way of storing coffee. So disastercoffee.com, a portion of their proceeds goes to support Grindstone Ministries. You can also visit the Sanctified Supply Company, Sanctified Supply Co. They are awesome. Lucia and Jerry, they're awesome. And they make really cool shirts and swag and all of that. And a portion of their proceeds go to benefit Grindstone. And again, we are actively fundraising now for a chapel at Bethany House, as well as a church building at Shofar Mountain. And those are 2 separate funds. So if you go to donate at Grindstone Ministries, you can select which fund, or you can leave us a note in the comment, Bethany House, Shofar, General Fund, whatever. And those funds do not intermingle. We will not use a dime of Shofar money for Bethany House. We will not use a dime of Bethany House for Shofar Mountain. Those are completely separate, and that's for reasons. I fellowship at Shofar Mountain. Pastor Joe runs Shofar Mountain. We want there to be absolute clarity on where the funds go. And there's no conflict of interest here. If you would like to support us building a church building at Shofar Mountain through Grindstone, you can do that because Grindstone will be the one building it. And then, of course, our ongoing mission to support Bethany House and the Demand Project and what they do to minister to, restore, and rehabilitate victims of human trafficking and sex crimes. And so that's when I say we're building a chapel there. The next thing we're doing there is, see, they have a wraparound approach to fixing people. It's physical, mental, spiritual, financial, educational, and I can't remember the last one. Yes, baby. Yeah, in 1 minute. Let me finish talking to the people, okay? Okay. So, but they don't have a chapel on site, so we're going to build them one. And to do that takes money. It's going to be about $100,000 to build that. So we are aggressively fundraising beginning now, today, to do that. And then we will have deployment dates once I know them. You can sign up at Grindstone Ministries for the email blast for when we are deploying to accomplish all this work. The answer is I don't know yet, but the moment I know, I'll let you all know. So with that, thank you for being here. The entirety of this report is on Patreon. There's a significant portion of this report that we skipped over today just due to time. So you can go to patreon.com, look for Bear Independent. Please, again, consider us at the store. If you just still got a little bit of money burning a hole in your pocket, get you a bare minimum kit or a Stomp Bag or this patch or this sticker or whatever. Check out all our cool friends: Adventure Frontier, Sanctified Supply Co., Hero Soap Company, Disaster Coffee, Amendment 1 Preparedness. What have we done since last we talked? We got 100 food-grade buckets. For those of y'all that are tracking at home, about 30 pounds of food-ish goes into a bucket. Do the math. How much more food does Bear have to put up? We just got 100 food-grade buckets. So we are still making forward progress on food storage. Repeat, we are still making forward progress on food storage. So we picked up 100 food-grade buckets with new lids. We cleaned up rocks and dirt with the track hoe around the area that we excavated for our bridge. We've continued to feed animals. We bought more feed. Never-ending cycle. We made deer burgers, which were delicious. Filled orders from the store. We had a wonderful and blessed Sabbath. We fellowshipped with some friends, and I've watched a ton of the YouTube channel My Mechanics with both my son and my wife. The dude restores stuff, like antique stuff, and he does a really good job of it. He's Swiss, so he has that nice attention to detail. And I would love it, again, if y'all would comment down below. Do you like the morning show? Do you not like the morning show? Do you prefer it to the evening show? Again, we're experimenting this week to see what happens. So I think I like the morning show more than the evening show, but we're going to see what happens. So let me know. Let me know. And with that, let's pray in the day. Father Yah, thank you for the opportunity to do these things. Thank you for everybody within the sound of my voice, and thank you for using busted up people to do your will, Father. I pray that you would bless everybody within the sound of my voice. I pray that you would fill us up with your Ruach HaKodesh, your Holy Spirit, Father. If there's anything within the sound of my voice that's not of you, I rebuke it in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach and command it to flee. Father, thank you for being sovereign over all things, including this inconvenience and potential chaos that we find in the world these days. You've told us through Matthew 24 in the book of Revelation that these things are coming. And so, Father, we just ask that you just continue to walk with us as we engage in these things, that you would give us power and authority in your name, and that you would make it clear to us what it is that we are to do to serve you and serve your kingdom. Thank you for redemption and restoration through Yeshua Messiah, Jesus the Christ. Father, thank you for the opportunity to do this. I pray that you just continue to use us to be the light, to bring your peace to the world, Father. And ask all these things in the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen. Bless y'all. Have an awesome day. Lisa Left Eye Lopez. Never forget. Shalom.